A while ago, I wrote and published an article on Reddit explaining how I studied the foundations of front-end development and got a job in a relatively short amount of time, just a bunch of months. One of the things I used was Anki. Anki is a tool, an application, a software that you can install in your laptop and your phone, and you can use it to review things that you want to remember, things that you are studying and you want to remember. A number of people have asked me how I use Anki specifically. So in this video I'm going to explain the initial setup that you need to do if you want to use Anki as I do, and then how I create the Anki cards. Anki shows you cards with a front which contains a question or a cue for you to remember, and then the answer, the backside. The answer is the thing that you are supposed to remember. It's a question and answer card, software or system. Anyway, the first thing you want to do is to go to Anki web. Just type it in Google, and the first result you want to click in there, click on apps, click on download, and then you will download for your laptop whatever operative system you have, and for your mobile phone. Download both. Once you download that, you will see something like this. That will be empty because I have a bunch of decks here created, but you won't. So you will see this empty, and you will have the option to create an account. And I highly encourage you to create an account. In fact, you should create an account because that will allow you to synchronize your decks and cards between your desktop or laptop and your phone. Anyway, once you have created an account, which should be straightforward, you are gonna click on create deck, and I'm gonna name the deck test. And right now you already have created the deck. It's as easy. The problem is that this deck doesn't have any cards and it has the default settings. Click on the wheel and options, and you will tweak the settings. You will start with the default settings, which by default, in my opinion, have too long review sessions. Click on manage, click on add, and name the new options group whatever you like. Then you have created one, and then you will want to tweak these settings. I'm gonna switch to one of my pre-created options, which I already have, and you will want to introduce in the new cards settings like this. Pause the video and enter these values, and then in the reviews tab you will want to enter these values. Again, pause the video and enter these values, and this will reduce the duration of the review sessions to something more manageable. It will go from maybe 40 to 30 minutes per session to in between 10 and 20 minutes. I find this more manageable and short enough that I'm not too lazy to do it every day. Anyhow, leave these remaining tabs as they are, and then just click OK. And now you want to add cards to your deck. This is the initial setup. We are done with that, and the next thing is to add the cards. So you can add them from here if you want, clicking on add, and then filling in these fields. The front, basically your question, answer, and then the tag could be JavaScript or HTML and CSS. You can add multiple tags by adding a space in between. Anyway, this is not how I usually create cards. I'll show you how I usually do it. I will close this thing. And let's imagine that I am in a study session and I am studying JavaScript. So I am in javascript.info, which is a really great tutorial explaining JavaScript in depth. And let's say I'm studying array methods. You don't need to know what it is. And while I'm studying, I will have a text editor open on the side. It can be any text editor that you want. I use Sublime. And then I will add text here that represents the different cards that I will want to have in Anki. Let's say I read this piece of content or information. Array.push adds items to the end. You don't need to know what it is. Let's say I want to create a card to remember this information. So I will copy this piece of text and I will tweak it a little bit, method that adds items to the end of an array. Then I will do a double quote, one double quote, and I will copy this thing. And I will add another double quote, and I will write JS that stands for JavaScript. Now, what is this? I will make it a bit wider. This is the content of the card itself. This is the question, the answer, and the tag. The question is this part over here. If I can select it, this part over here is the question. The way to indicate the end of the question is this one double quote, which also marks where the answer starts. And the answer is up to the second double quote. And after the second double quote, I have the tag. So the double quote acts as a separator between the fields of the card. So, as I am studying, I will keep on adding items here, and I in fact have a text file already prepared with a bunch of cards right here. So, here if I make it a bit larger, I have one card, more or less the same I had before. Then I had a new line, or a line break. I have a new card, so the new line is a way to tell this is a new card, this is a different card. And this follows the same format. A piece of text, one double quote to indicate a separator, to indicate this is where the question finishes. Then the second piece of text indicating this is the answer, up to here to the second double quote. And then the last field is the tag or tags. I could have here multiple tags. I only need to separate them with a space. Anyway, this would be the third card, and this would be the fourth card. So here I have 4 cards in total. There are 2 things worth mentioning here. In here, the piece I want to remember, so remember this is the question because this is the first quote, double quote, this is the answer up to here, and this is the tag. Alright, so this is the thing, this is the answer, this is the thing that I want to remember. And in this case, let's say that in this specific case, I want to remember that I can use these arrowheads with H1 text here. Again, you don't need to know what it is, it's just an example. It's just enough to say, this is the thing I want to remember that I need to put in here. To indicate that in the question, I often do something like that. So I have the same piece of code and I replace what I want to remember with this bunch of underscores. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's pretty obvious to understand what it is. It's just like a placeholder to indicate when I am reviewing, when I am using Anki to indicate there's something missing here. Try to remember what is missing. And then when I see the answer, I see what I'm supposed to remember. And in the fourth card, there is something else worth mentioning. So, following this, looking at where this double quote separator is, this would be the question. And then, again, the answer, okay, so this should be like that. The answer, let's imagine that the answer is supposed to be this thing. But the problem here is that the answer contains double quotes. So if the double quote is a separator to indicate to Anki what are the fields of the card, Anki will actually see this double quote and understand, all right, this is the answer up to here. But this is wrong. The answer is all these things. So the point here is that you cannot have inside the fields of the card the character that you use as separator. It will break when you try to add this card, because Anki will not know what to do with so many fields in here. It will see each separator, each double quote, as indicating a new field. So what you want to do is to not use the separator character, the double quote. You want to use, for example, a single quote. All right, so if you use a single quote, now you only have double quotes to separate the question, the answer, and the tag. So that's something important to keep in mind when you create the cards. So we save this file. It's saved now. And then we need to import this text file to Anki so that the new cards are generated. And how to do it? It's very easy. You go to the Anki application, File, Import, and then you select the file that you want to import. Important here, the type of the card. I always use basic and never use anything else. The deck, of course, the deck where you want to add the cards. And then this is the most important part, the field separated by. Click on here, and then here you have to type in the double quote. One double quote, not two, just one double quote. So I will mention here that you could use anything else, any character that you want, as long as it's the same as you are using to separate the fields in the text file. I use double quote. It's not necessarily the best character one could use, but it's fine enough. It works for me. So anyway, add double quote here, click OK, and then this thing automatically changes to the fields on the text file. It sees two double quotes, so it means that there are three fields, and it sets them up in the right order by default. The front is the first field, the second field is the back, and the third field is the tag. So you only need to click import here. It tells you that everything went well. Close this thing, and then in the deck you had created, you can see that there are 4 new cards, which are the 4 cards that were in the text file. So if I click on the deck and study now, you actually see the question, you see the tag followed by double /, and if you click on the show answer, you see the answer. So that's how I add cards into the Anki deck. Now, if you want to study these cards that you added in your phone, don't remember to click on synchronize option, or if you just close the application, it will always synchronize before closing by default. Anyhow, this is how you have to set up Anki for studying, or how I recommend that you do it, and this is how I create Anki cards while I'm studying content. I hope it was useful. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. I'll try to reply to everyone. So that's it. Take care, and I hope this is useful to you. Cheers.